primary election is 2 weeks away, and today is the last day to request an absentee ballot for this month's primary. People who are eligible for an absentee ballot include those temporarily living outside the county of their residence, those unable to appear at the polls on election day due to their age, disability, or illness are also eligible. And students temporarily living outside of their county can request an absentee ballot as well. Once voters receive their ballots and fill them out, there are a few ways they can go about returning them. They can mail them back, or if you're in Fayette County, you can head downtown to the Fayette County Clerk's office and place your ballot in the big blue drop-off box in front of the building. Fayette County Clerk Susan Lamb says it's important to make sure everyone who is eligible to vote gets the chance to do so, whether it's in person on Election Day or by using an absentee ballot.
You know, you have people that have medical issues, people that might have surgery scheduled and they're not able to travel, people that are out of the country or out of the state. There are many, many different facets of reasons why that you would want to utilize the process of having an absentee ballot.
The deadline to request an absentee ballot is today at 4 o'clock. You can do so by heading to voteky.com. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.